Did you know that humanity owes its survival to goats? Yes, those bearded creatures with mischievous eyes. 10,000 years ago, when our ancestors were still learning to distinguish edible plants from poisonous ones, they formed a remarkable alliance with an animal that changed the course of history. These undemanding four-legged friends helped humanity not just survive, but create the first civilizations. Today, I'll tell you how a small hoofed animal with attitude changed mankind's fate and continues to influence our world even in the age of high technology. It all began in the Fertile Crescent, the cradle of human civilization. Imagine this. Around 8,000 years BCE, when our ancestors were just beginning to adopt a settled lifestyle, they had already tamed wild caprid goats. Archaeological findings in the Zagros Mountains of modern Iran and in ancient Jericho show that goats were among the first animals domesticated by humans, even earlier than cows and horses. But why goats specifically? All genius ideas are simple. These animals are the planet's true survivors. They can feed on almost any vegetation, from juicy grass to tough shrubs that other animals simply avoid. In ancient Egypt and Mesopotamia, goats literally saved entire settlements during droughts when other livestock died of hunger. Can you imagine how valuable such a resource was for people who didn't yet know modern food storage technologies? And it wasn't just meat and milk. Goat hair was used to make durable fabric and ropes, while their hides were turned into parchment, on which ancient texts were written. In a sense, without goats, we might not have many of the ancient manuscripts that have survived to this day. And in religious practices of the Middle East, goats often became sacrificial animals, symbolizing the connection between earthly and divine worlds. Over time, the art of goat herding spread across the world, adapting to the most extreme conditions. Just imagine, high in the Himalayas, where the air is so thin that an ordinary person gasps for breath. Kashmiri goats don't just survive, they thrive. Their unique undercoat, harvested once a year by combing, becomes the material for producing the world's most expensive cashmere. One sweater made of pure cashmere can cost several $1,000s. This goat herding tradition literally spins gold from thin air. And what about Africa? In the arid regions of the Sahel, where other livestock simply can't withstand the heat and water scarcity, Nubian goats with their long legs and ears that help cool their bodies become the foundation of survival for entire tribes. Interesting fact, Tuareg nomads are so closely connected with their goats that they've developed a special language of commands that only their animals understand. It's like having a secret code between human and goat, genuine communication on another level. In the mountainous regions of Europe, goat herding evolved into a true art form. Swiss shepherds have spent centuries perfecting the technique of making cheese from goat's milk, creating unique flavors that depend on the specific alpine herbs their goats consume. And in Spain, an ancient system of livestock migration, transhumance, still exists, where goat herds twice a year undertake epic journeys between summer and winter pastures, preserving traditions that are more than 2,000 years old. But what does it mean to be a true goat herder? It's not just a job, it's a way of life. Imagine, you must be able to recognize dozens of signals your animals give, predict weather better than meteorologists, navigate terrain without GPS, and of course, possess tremendous patience. Goats are creatures with amazingly complex character and high intelligence. They can solve simple puzzles, recognize their reflection in a mirror, and even remember up to 50 of their fellow goats by face. Did you know that goats can remember the solution to a complex problem for up to 4 years? Many dogs can't boast such memory. Experienced herders tell amazing stories about their charges. Marco Gentile, a goat herder from Tuscany with 40 years of experience, once shared, "In my herd, there's always one leader goat. She's the first to notice danger and warn the others. Once, my Bianca saved the entire herd from a wolf when I dozed off under a tree. Since then, I believe that goats don't just provide us with food, they protect us as we protect them." In the modern world, goat herding is experiencing a true renaissance. With the growing popularity of organic products and conscious consumption, Goat milk and meat are returning to the tables of urban dwellers, but goat herders face new challenges. Climate change leads to unpredictable droughts and floods. Traditional pastures shrink due to urbanization, and global markets dictate new quality standards. However, where others see obstacles, goat herders find opportunities. In the Netherlands, floating goat farms have emerged, an innovative response to rising sea levels. In Australia, goat herders use drones to monitor herds across vast territories. And in Morocco, the ancient tradition of goat herding has merged with ecotourism. Argan goats, famous for their ability to climb trees in search of fruits, have become real social media stars. But most importantly, goat herding remains an integral part of the cultural heritage of many peoples. Every year in Spain, the La Transhumancia festival takes place, when thousands of goats pass through the center of Madrid, reminding of ancient livestock migration routes. In Greece, the goat herder festival is celebrated with special grandeur on the islands, while in Mongolia, children from an early age learn the art of communicating with goats through traditional games and songs. The ecological value of goat herding also cannot be underestimated. Controlled goat grazing helps prevent forest fires by removing undergrowth that could become fuel for fire. In some regions of the United States, goats are specifically employed for natural clearing of territories from weeds, an eco-friendly alternative to chemical herbicides. So, goat herding is not just an ancient craft or a means of producing food, it's the living history of humanity, a bridge between our past and future. In a world where technologies change every day, the connection between a shepherd and his herd remains the same as thousands of years ago, based on mutual respect, understanding, and care. And perhaps in this unchanging bond lies one of the most important lessons for our troubled world. Sometimes the simplest solutions prove to be the most enduring, and true innovation isn't about rejecting traditions, but creatively reimagining them. Next time you meet a humble goat on a farm or see goat cheese on a store shelf, remember, before you is not just an animal or a product, it's the living embodiment of one of the longest and most amazing chapters of human history, a history that continues to be written today, connecting us with invisible threads to all generations that live before us. See you soon.